this week about the power of steps and touch on the menstrual cycle a little bit at the end as well. But mainly how we can use the power of steps to try and kind of kickstart our goals or accelerate our goals, whether that be for mental health or weight loss or even a little bit of strength gains, so things like that. Because I feel like it's really underestimated, the power of steps and that, like, just getting that daily movement in. So 2 seconds, I'm gonna just hide this little bar there. Okay, perfect. So the importance of steps. Does anyone know NEAT, what that is? Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Does anyone, like, I know that seems nah. So basically, that is the amount of calories you burn or the amount of energy you expend through things that isn't your actual workout. So things that aren't like going to the gym or deliberately going for a run. So anything outside of intentional exercise, we call non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And actually, anywhere, depending on how active you are, 15 to 50% of all of your daily expenditure comes from this. So it doesn't actually come from your deliberate training sessions that you do. Now, that's not to take away from the fact that your deliberate training sessions are super beneficial for you in a million different ways, including burning calories. But actually, even if you miss a training session or whatever it is, literally just going about your daily business, walking around, fidgeting, standing, just being alive is going to burn about up to 50% of your daily expenditure. And I say up to because this is when steps plays a massive role in this, because it depends if you have quite a sedentary lifestyle, of course, or if you are someone that is trying to be moving for as much as possible throughout the day. What are your average, Maxine, what are your average steps roughly? Because I know you're trying to do walks, long walks in the morning now, aren't you? What's your average steps per day?
I'll have to check.
Put you on the spot.
So at the moment, it's actually 11,700.
Okay,
so it's not a lot.
That's good. That's really good. Is that upped because of the dog walking in the morning?
Yes, but that's also in consideration of 2 days where I didn't move a lot.
Okay.
So it's probably more.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's good. And Juan, what would you say your average is at the moment? What's it looking like?
Yes, I'd say it sort of varies because some weeks I do more, some days I do more, but I think on the average I'm hitting like maybe 8,000.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's good. You're both 8,000 or more steps a day on average, roughly. That's a good, I'd say 8 to 10 is a great sort of place to aim for always. If you can sit around that 10,000 mark, if you're just shy of it, that's fine per day. There's a study that shows, so if you have, say, 8,000 steps a day on average, compared to 4,000 steps a day on average, you have 51% lower chance of all-cause mortality, so i.e. like heart disease or any of these sort of diseases that come with a more sedentary lifestyle. So you're a lot more healthier as an individual just by basically moving your body and freeing up your body, get that blood flowing around it on a daily basis more. You're much healthier as a result. So, and this is science, it's not just airy-fairiness. It's so important to be active as much as you can, moving your body throughout the day. So every additional 1,000 steps is associated with a 6% reduction in mortality. So, I mean, that sounds really gloom and doom, but all I mean is, those chronic diseases that are associated with a sedentary lifestyle. So steps and weight management, because obviously this is a great tool that we can use to help manage our weight. Now, I would just like to say before we get into that, that although, yes, movement and exercise, so getting your steps in, going to the gym, going for runs, all the rest of it, yes, of course, they do burn calories. But I would also just like to be clear that we can never outrun or out exercise a bad diet. So yes, we 100% can use our step count on a daily basis and our exercise in general to burn calories and therefore control our weight, but only if our diet is obviously in a calorie deficit. So it doesn't mean we can eat, well, we could eat more and potentially stay the same weight, but we can't just eat what we like as long as we're exercising loads and loads and loads, because actually you can eat back what you exercise in half an hour. You can eat that back in a few minutes if you really wanted to. So don't view it like that. Don't view exercise as a way of okay, if I do a half-hour run, then I can eat my chocolate bar afterwards. You can eat that chocolate bar anyway, as long as you just do it in moderation. And then the exercise is a bonus on top, as long as you've got your diet nailed, that's going to help bring you potentially into a calorie deficit, or help you at least maintain your weight, or depending on what your goal is. So always pair it with a good diet. But burning calories with steps, we can use this. It is a great tool. And it reduces, like I said, the risks of associated sedentary behavior like diseases. Also, it strengthens, literally walking alone can help strengthen our bone density. It can help strengthen, obviously, our muscles a little bit as well, although weightlifting is the real king of doing that, and same with the bone density. And the probably biggest benefit of getting your steps in on every single day, it should really be seen as an essential thing, is for your mental health, because of that release of serotonin that we get when we walk, when we are literally, we've got our head out of our phone for a second, we're tuning into the rest of the world. It grounds us and it makes us it frees our mind and it makes us happier. It remembers, it kind of calms our brain down a little bit. And this is a domino effect for staying consistent with your fitness journey in itself, because if you're happier, you're so much more likely to be productive for the rest of the day and to carry on with your sessions, because happier athletes are usually the most consistent with their training sessions. So weight management isn't just about intense workouts, it's about what you do consistently throughout the day. Habits, good habits makes people. So if you can always make that like as a non-negotiable, okay, that we try and hit 10,000, let's aim for a nice round number of 10,000 steps a day. And if we do more than that, amazing. But try and always, as a minimum standard, set that for yourself to hit 10,000 steps a day. And I know, Maxine, you've said that for you, it works better for you when early in the morning, because is that because it kind of, do you feel like it sets your day up? And do you feel the mental benefits of it more than anything else? Or for you, is it physical benefits, or how does it set you up?
All of that. It helps my dogs stay happy for the rest of the day. Like they're fine with shorter walks in the evening. It makes me start the day better, so mentally I'm in a better place because I know I've done a big portion of my exercise for the day, especially on rest days.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like my muscle recovery is better when I walk a lot on my rest days. And I don't know, but I just feel like getting it done early in the morning or like midday or something, that helps, because during the afternoon and the evening I tend to have other things to do, so I feel stressed if I have steps left to get in. And then I end up walking or running even sometimes just to
get them
get
in.
the last steps in.
I admire your determination. And do you know why? Because there is a reason why you're right, you recover better once you've done a bit of walking from a gym session, say. Do you know actually why that is, that you recover better from sessions when you get your steps in?
Only what you said, no details, but just the fact that the blood circulation is increased, and vitamins, minerals, oxygen and stuff gets passed around a bit more, I guess.
Yep, it's exactly that. It's literally that. It flushes out the lactic acid that's built up a little bit sometimes from weightlifting, especially when you're not as used to it perhaps, or you've done a heavier session than you might have done in a little while, and you get that sort of sore effect in the muscles, and walking can help flush that out a little bit. And as you say, just the movement of blood around your body, exactly, you hit the nail on the head, helps to carry nutrients to parts of the body where you really need them. So again, it's something to stress. Movement is amazing. Steps are it's probably the most underrated form of exercise you can do. And also pairing it with that healthy diet, because then you get the most out of those steps, because you're circulating those nutrients around your body. That's really how you got to view it. When you're walking, it's doing so much goodness for your body. And so making sure you're not neglecting the other aspects of things, so you can get the most out of your steps. Okay, so walking for the mind, we kind of talked about it a little bit already, but just two other key things. It reduces anxiety. So for anyone that does struggle with anxiety, or anyone listening to this, playing this back, just getting out, it grounds you. There's so many studies out there that prove time and time and time again it can really diminish the effects of anxiety if we make it a consistent staple in our routine. It can't just be a one-off. It has to be a consistent staple to get our steps in every single day. It really helps to ground us, calm the mind, and kind of have a moment of reflection. And I would just also like to say, it's important when you do go for your steps, you try not to distract yourself by being on your phone for a lot of it. Although I would also like to say that if you are someone that's quite busy, and the only way that you're going to be able to fit your steps in is by multitasking, then go for it. Then try and do a bit of work as you get your steps in. For example, I often will encourage people, if you work from home a lot and you've noticed that you sit down for hours, maybe more than an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours every day, or quite often, then get yourself a standing desk, or put your laptop on something higher. Even if you're in an office with other people, like, just do it. Be that person that stands up or is standing from side to side. Or even one of our other clients, Kirsty, she's got a walking treadmill, and she literally walks as she's working from home. And this is going to help your mental health just as much as your physical health, because we don't actually, as humans, we don't want to be sitting down for long periods of time, an hour plus. It's not, our body doesn't really appreciate it. It doesn't. You start to get sometimes some issues with your literal body position, your posture, stiffness of muscles, and then your mental health really does not, or will not, thank you for sitting down for extended periods of time. So even if you do have to sit down, just stand up and do a little 10 or even 5-minute walk around your house, and then come sit back down again. That can work really well as well. And then there's a lot of studies as well, similarly with depression, that it can help really diminish the effects of depression. Another interesting study is that with walking, it can stimulate the sort of creative part of your brain by up to 60%. And so if you guys are, a lot of people like to sort of, if you've got a creative job or whatever, they'll get their steps in and they'll be thinking about things, they'll be brainstorming in their head, because we have a lot more mental clarity when that blood is flowing. And it makes sense when you think about it, because your blood is flowing to your brain, to your body, all the rest of it, and you can just think a lot clearer. So if you do need to multitask when you're walking, go for it. If that is the only way of you getting your steps in on a certain day, go for it. It's better than not walking at all. Okay, so practical tips for getting your steps in every single day. So, Juan, do you ever struggle with getting your steps in? I know you've got, quite active jobs. They're quite hands-on. You're on your feet quite a lot. Is there any days that you can think of that you struggle to get steps in?
Yeah, you say my job is active. It can be. It depends on the day. There's
Okay.
days when I'm it's not as active. So yeah, for sure. There's days where I struggle a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So is it physically quite hard to be able to stand up and go even just a walk around the room? Is it quite hard because you're kind of having to be
Well, yeah,
physically?
wouldn't nothing would stop me from just walking around the room. No, no. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
I
sometimes it's
might be
simple as
limited
that.
to like being in like a one location, like
Yeah.
in a house, but yeah, I suppose like walking around and yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, I mean, honest, you might get some funny looks from your colleagues or whatever. But even just standing up and literally sidestepping and just putting your weight from one leg onto the other, it will make such a world of difference. If you are someone that on some days that you've been staying put for hours on end, you've been quite still all day. I bet, how do you feel at the end of those days when you feel like when you've had those more sedentary days?
Yeah, not great and not as energized.
Yeah. And then
Yeah, so
do you struggle to do your workouts as a result or find the motivation to maybe work out at the end of those days?
more likely, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like, it's a huge knock-on effect. And people think it's often the other way around, like, oh, must conserve my energy because I've got a workout later on. Actually, it's the opposite. Keep that body moving as much as you can. And then by the time your shift finishes, you'll be so much more energized, both physically and mentally, to actually be fired up and ready to go with that workout. Um, and so there's a few different ways that we can incorporate getting our steps into our routine if it is a bit of a struggle. So like we just mentioned there, literally even just walking around your room, you can do taking the stairs instead of the elevator. I will often Okay, so whenever you guys get in and out of a train station or the subway station, like I please just do this from now on, okay? Do not take that escalator. Take the blooming stairs. Do it every time. Are you guys, what do you choose, the escalator or the stairs? You can be honest.
Um, uh, both. I've done both. It maybe depends on if I've got a heavy bag or something, but
Okay, yeah. Good answer.
I
Right.
always do stairs because it takes too long to wait for anything else. So I'm
Also a good
usually
answer.
out of breath and dead by the end, but it's worth it.
Also a good answer. Okay, good. Yeah, I think as a rule of thumb, I never allow myself to take that escalator unless I've got big heavy bags and stuff. But I try to, as much as I can, take the steps because you will be so surprised at how quickly just forcing yourself to take the steps or walk instead of drive just round the corner to the shops or just extend your morning walk by an extra 1 kilometer. Just by doing these small tweaks in the day, they can make a huge difference. Same with if you work in an office sometimes and there's stairs and then you've got the lift or the escalator, just take the stairs. These things will add up. There's some really interesting studies out there that show that even by upping your step count, I think it's by maybe 1 or 2K, and even if you change nothing else about your lifestyle, okay? And you didn't change your diet, you didn't change how many times you worked out, nothing like that. Everything stayed the same, but you just upped your step count by 1 or 2K every day. You'd lose 3.7, it was a really specific number, I think 3.7 kg by the end of the year, which doesn't seem like much, but it does show that these things add up, and that's like almost for free, that extra bit of weight just by choosing the stairs and by making these tiny little logical choices, clever choices. Um, yeah, other things, just parking further away, trying to walk when you're on the phone call, just literally walking in circles, all of these things can help. Um, do you guys ever like go hiking or do you go walking like with friends ever? Or how do you meet up with friends and go on long walks? Is it like a social thing for you?
I do. I've done hiking and stuff. Yeah, with on my own or with friends. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, perfect. And you, Maxine?
I would like to, but I don't really have any friends around that like to hike.
Uh,
I'm in a phase right now where I don't have the right kind of people
mhm.
around in that kind of way. I don't share the same interests, so
Yeah.
hopefully eventually.
Yeah, okay. So that brings me on to kind of what I was going to say, which is it's really important to just try and surround yourself with people that want to be a bit more active. And so, trying to make a point of finding friends, like I'm sure you are, Maxine, of trying to find those people now that want to go on walks with you instead of just sit in a pub and drink beer or whatever it is, people that are on the same sort of level as you and want to look after themselves and it can be a fun thing. It doesn't need to be like, oh, I need to get, 10,000 steps in every day and you do it by yourself. You can make it into a fun social thing. So that's what I tend to do now as well. The past, I'd say half a year, I've been making a really big effort to try and change key parts of my life around. To make things more enjoyable for me to live that healthier, more balanced life. So I've been literally actively seeking friends here in Glasgow that want to go on those long hikes with me, want to go on those walks instead of people that are just into drinking at the weekends. Nothing wrong with that, of course, each to their own, but people that are on the same wave level as me, it can make a big difference. So I would say, Maxine, if you haven't already, something that helped me was I joined like different Facebook groups. Like in Glasgow, there's like a women's only hiking group in Glasgow, and sometimes I've met up with them, and that's been a really great way to meet other women that want to just go for walks on the weekend and things like that. So I don't know if that's something that is available in your local area, or maybe you live in the countryside that's far away from lots of other people. I'm not sure.
So I've done this, but I'm like sitting on the line because I'm scared to do it. And the reason why is because I've contacted people before like that to make friends, and I've ended up with people who were really lonely and just needed too much of a friend, and I've had difficulties like getting rid of them. It feels bad to say, but like I'm scared of reaching out to the wrong people
Yeah.
and then feeling uncomfortable and kind of getting stuck in a friendship I don't feel good in.
Yeah. That
And I
makes
guess that's kind of from experience as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In a way, it's good that you've already had that experience then, because now you can spot the people that you'll be able to gel with more than the other people. I would say, like try to meet people in those bigger groups if you can, and then it is a tricky one, isn't it? But I
Yeah.
suppose the bigger the group is, the more of a chance that people aren't going to glue onto you and then be too intense, if that makes sense. You can kind
Yeah,
of
so a bigger group then.
yeah, but I don't know how much options there are in your area, but something like that is a good way of being able to meet a broad range of people and then to kind of filter down from there as to who's going to be better suited to you, I guess.
Yeah, that
So yeah,
sounds good. Thank
yeah,
you.
that's okay. Yeah, maybe there's some more groups out there that you can try. Definitely don't give up. Um, Okay, so yeah, by incorporating more steps into your day, it doesn't have to be complicated. So simple changes like taking the stairs or walking during calls, it all adds up. That is the point I'm getting at. Do not underestimate your step count. Did anyone have any questions on that whole topic? I know I skimmed over it.
A little question, really.
Yeah,
Does it make a difference to how quickly you walk?
good,
Like, is that a
really good
difference to
question.
the quality of like how much energy you burn and stuff like that?
Yeah, really, that's a really great question. So yes, it actually does make a huge difference. So yeah, I try to walk quite briskly, and that puts my heart rate, obviously, it elevates my heart rate a little bit. And then it can actually work more on your endurance. So a little bit more of your zone two if you're walking really fast, or maybe if you're walking uphill, you try to walk fast uphill. That is going to be a great form of endurance. For example, if you're training for your half marathon, I would highly recommend brisk walking. You also get a lot more steps in. So if if you don't have much time to get your steps in, Juan, like maybe you've got, a busy shift coming up, whatever, just literally speed walk it. And yeah, you'll get a lot of benefits from that. Then again, some more slowed down, sort of calmer walking is for some people more enjoyable. You might get slightly better mental health benefits, or it might be a tool that you can use to help you wind down. For example, I like to go on late night walks. So I would do brisk walks in the morning, get my heart rate elevated, get the endorphins flowing. And then in the evening, I do just a slow, chilled out walk to get the last few remaining steps in. And it helps me really unwind before bed. Otherwise, I'm a little bit too wired. If I'm been walking quite briskly and my heart rate's elevated, then it's often quite hard to get to sleep. But yeah, great question. Maxine, did you have anything?
Yeah, so I can't remember who, but someone wrote in the chat if it makes a difference if we go on a bike or not. I can't remember the question specifically, but I do feel sometimes like taking the bike instead of walking to the gym, but then I opt to walk because then I can count my steps. And going on the bike kind of feels like I'm not collecting steps, am I? So I can't really say that I walked my steps.
Yeah, so that is another great question. So in theory, right, cycling is the same as walking, because as long as you go at a good enough intensity when you're cycling, then you're going to get your heart rate slightly elevated. You're also working the same muscles as you would as if you were walking, but just less impact on those muscles. So in some ways, cycling, they're both the same. So it doesn't really matter if you want to do cycling or walking, but it does matter if, for example, Maxine, in your situation, which is you're wanting to get from your house to the gym, and you can either walk it, maybe it's only a few kilometers away, so you can either walk it or you can cycle it. But cycling it is probably not going to be much effort if it's only a couple of kilometers, because think how fast you can go compared to walking for the same effort level on a bike. So for you, it almost walking is going to be better. Walking is going to be a lot better. Obviously, if you are in a bit of a rush, then cycle over driving or whatever. It's still going to be better than nothing at all. But if you, for example, are traveling a longer distance, then yeah, cycling is a great way of getting there. Or maybe you want to now deliberately choose a gym that's a little bit further away, and then you can cycle it in the same time as what you would have walked to the nearby gym, if that makes sense. So that's all I would say. Just be mindful of the fact that when you are cycling, the effort levels, you'd have to be cycling for a lot more distance, if that makes sense, covering a bigger distance, and probably pushing yourself a little bit harder intentionally on the bike. Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to quickly dive into, because I know Kirsty brought this up, so kind of in the chat, was the menstrual cycle and how that can affect your training. Juan, you're free to tap out if you want to. But if you want to listen and learn, then also I totally respect that as well. It will be, I'm going to skim over it, so it's going to be about 5-10 minutes. Okay, perfect. So how it affects your energy and motivation. So hormones, they can wreak havoc with us. And the really hard thing about this is it's so specific to every single individual. Every single woman is going to go through and experience their menstrual cycle in a completely different way from the next person. And sometimes each single menstrual cycle that us as women have in themselves, each one is not going to look the same. So for some people, their menstrual cycle looks exactly the same. And for other people, it looks completely different with each and every cycle we have. So sometimes it can be really predictable. Sometimes it's not predictable at all. Sometimes people get loads of pain, sometimes not. But it just affects us in so many different ways. So I'm going to try and give as much advice as I can, but just know as well that you always have to be listening to your body, what your body is telling you. So the menstrual cycle, hormonal fluctuations and their impact. Okay, I'll quickly go over the 4 main phases of the menstrual cycle. So you've got menstruation, obviously, that is when we're actually bleeding. So during menstruation, low hormone levels may impact your motivation, but exercise can help alleviate potentially painful symptoms. So do not shy away from exercise. As women, there's a lot of misinformation out there that tells us, oh, you know, don't work out when you're on your period. Take it easy. Yes, take it easy if you feel weak, okay? If you literally feel a little bit weaker physically, or a low energy levels, then yes, take it a little bit easier. But I would also say, if you feel fine, then you go hell to leather, you go 100%, and do not let you bleeding stop you from putting in that effort, because it's quite a dangerous theory that's coming out at the moment, and a lot of people are adopting this, especially fitness coaches. They're saying to women, we should sync our menstrual cycle to our training. We should not do that. We should not do that, because if we did that, we are cutting out half of our month. We are saying for half of the month, of every single month we have as women, we should not be training that hard. We should maybe just train to 30%. The other half, we can train a bit harder. We are missing out. The thing is, the detriment to our health on not pushing hard and not progressing our weightlifting and our strength and our bone density and our fitness, not pushing that is going to have more of a detriment to our health than simply pushing a bit harder when for example, we are in menstruation or our ovulation phase, for example. So it's really important, yes, that you listen to yourself, listen to your body. If you genuinely are feeling a lot weaker, or if you're in a lot of pain, because I'm not underestimating the fact that as us women, we will feel sometimes a lot of pain, and genuinely our energy levels can seriously reduce, and our physical strength can seriously reduce as well. So of course, listen to your body and only do what you can, but do not, as a rule of thumb, just like, oh, I'm on this certain phase of my period, therefore I must cut my effort level by half. No, 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 no. You are an individual. You're completely different to every other woman on this planet. And so your experience of your menstrual cycle will be completely different to the next person's. So a general rule of thumb just doesn't cut it. You just have to listen to your own body. And in a way, this is a good thing, because it means it's easy for you to decide each day that you wake up. You just happen to listen to your own body, and then you'll know how hard to push it. You don't actually need to be memorizing, you know, how much energy you should have and how hard you should push when you're in this phase. And what about this phase? You don't need to memorize that. You just need to listen to your own body. But I am going to quickly tell you what the different phases represent, because I think it is also good to just have that awareness, general overall awareness, so that you're not hating on yourself. If you think, for example, 1 week, oh my God, my numbers that I'm lifting have gone down, not up, you realize there's a logical explanation for it. So as I was saying, the menstruation cycle, it may impact your motivation, but movement in itself can actually help to alleviate any painful symptoms. And in general, exercise helps you feel more energized. Then you've got the follicular phase. So in this phase, it brings higher release of certain hormones that will give you higher energy, usually. Not always, but usually. So you might feel that you have higher energy, usually in the follicular phase, okay? So the follicular phase is straight after you've finished bleeding, basically. It's that next phase. Then you've got your ovulation phase, okay? This is after the follicular phase, so the energy levels might stay high during this phase as well. This phase can feel different for everyone, just like every phase. So you just have, this is very key, this phase, to listen to your own body, because this phase is going to look wildly different depending on who you are. And then you have got the luteal phase. So that's the last phase before you start bleeding again. So you're going to have higher progesterone levels. This means your body is less effective at providing energy. So you probably will feel a bit more fatigue. This is probably, if you are going to feel fatigued, this is probably where you would feel the most fatigued leading up to the start of your bleed. Okay. So workout tip, if you need to, build in an extra rest day and enjoy some higher protein snacks as well. This is going to help. So that's just a bit of a general overview, but I really want you, the main takeaway is listen to your body. I cannot stress that enough. And you choose how hard you want to push yourself, not some advice that's written down by some coach somewhere that tells you to only push to 50% on any given day, you know? Okay. So managing menstrual symptoms, science-backed strategies. So I'll quickly skim over this, but magnesium and vitamin B6 have been a lifesaver for me, especially magnesium. They really help with reduced fatigue, and even for men. So Juan, this is actually something that could just help you in general, anyone that struggles a little bit with fatigue. Also, if you feel restless at night, or you have struggle sleeping, it might actually be a lack of magnesium. For example, if you're someone that's quite twitchy, maybe quite restless, tossing and turning quite a lot, it could be a lack of magnesium. Since I started taking magnesium, I've become a lot less sort of twitchy and restless in bed, and I've been able to sort of literally physically, my muscles have calmed down more when I sleep now. And then apart from that, overall health in terms of movement, sleep quality, and reducing your stress levels are all going to really help symptoms to do like the struggling with your period. So what I mean is like when we've got pain or bloating or mood, when we're feeling stressed, any of these things, in any way that the period can negatively affect us, we can feel really emotional. So just concentrating on your overall health and well-being is going to help so much when you are struggling. Okay, this is the last slide. I'm going to skim over this one. So just to recap, so when we are in that bleed phase, so motivation can be low and you can be in physical discomfort. So add in slightly more rest days or slightly easier sessions if you need to. Then the follicular phase, so the second phase, you've got higher energy. So focus on, you might have great energy the whole way around. So honestly, this is really general, but this is typically what happens. Focus on this phase on slightly higher intensity workouts, or just capitalize on the fact that you probably will have a bit more energy. So just push it, okay? So research suggests women experience higher pain tolerance and increased strength, physical strength, during this phase. It's quite amazing. And then in the ovulation phase, this phase, of course, feels different to everyone. Usually energy levels are on the up as well, though, in this phase. And then the luteal phase, during the luteal phase, energy levels, this is where, like I said before, your energy levels are going to be a little bit lower. You're going to have to manage your fatigue through your sleep quality, through your diet. So a lot of people, this is a myth that, oh, when you're, it's your time of your month, or you're approaching the time of your month, that just comfort, eat what you want to make yourself feel better. Okay, yes. You will have an increased appetite. It's true in the lead up to your period. That is true. And you should, if you want to, eat a little bit more, because you probably will feel a little bit hungrier because you actually have a suppressed appetite in the phase before that, just marginally. So if you need to eat a little bit more, that's absolutely fine, because you naturally ate less in the lead up to it. But just make sure what you are eating it's not just junk food, it's not just chocolate. Don't fall into that trap of eating chocolate and ice cream when you're on your period to make yourself feel better. That will be momentarily make you feel better, and in the long run it will make you feel worse because it will play havoc with your energy levels, your blood sugar levels, all the rest of it, your mood swings. It'll be really bad. So I would encourage, in the luteal phase and in the menstruation phase, just try to have a real focus on complex carbohydrates. Basically, just eat well, okay? Just eat well. A mix of fruit and veg and wholemeal breads, wholemeal pasta. Try to avoid super processed white carby foods. That is it. And actually, Maxine, did you have any questions on that one at all? Is there anything you wanted me to go over in more detail, or anything you personally struggle
Yes.
with?
You did mention the complex carbs, but I'm also thinking, if everyone's different, right? But some people do have energy all throughout their cycle.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking it must have something to do with what we eat. And I was thinking maybe we won't have time now, but if we could go over different kinds of food, specific foods that we can focus on eating during these different phases to help balance out the hormones.
Yeah, okay, that's a great one. Yeah, I'll make a new sort of topic on that. And yeah, there is foods you can eat that will potentially promote better energy levels. For example, complex carbohydrates. But it's also quite specific to each individual. So for example, some people have better energy levels when they eat a slightly higher protein diet compared to carbs. For some other people, it's the other way around. So again, it's one of those annoying answers I'm going to give you where you're going to react to food in a different way from the next person is, partly because of how your gut bacteria is made up, and what your body's already used to eating. But as a general rule of thumb, complex carbohydrates are going to help a lot. Stay exercising as much as you can, keep that body moving, and just eating a balanced diet. It's a boring answer, but it's true. Just getting in that variety of fruit and veg, enough protein and healthy fats. If there is one thing, I will do another talk on that because it is a really interesting question, Maxine. And I'll just finish answering that question by saying healthy fats is probably the one thing that will change your mood the most if you're struggling at any given phase of your period, or whatever. In the lead up to your period, maybe your emotions are all over the place, your hormones will be all over the place. Healthy fats can really they can really stabilize our hormones. And it's something that us women, we are a bit scared of eating fat sometimes because we think it's going to make us gain fat. It's not. If we eat healthy fats like olives, peanut butter, as long as we just eat them in smaller quantities, because obviously they are calorific, that can really help stabilize our hormones. But I'll do another talk on that. That's a really interesting topic. In general, did we have any other questions at all? Juan, did you have anything else that I didn't cover?
No, I've got no questions.
Perfect. Thanks for hanging on in there with
No,
the second topic. I appreciate you wanting to learn as well, to be honest. It's actually it's admirable that you want to learn about it. Maxine, did you have anything else at all?
I only thought about one thing that I might want to mention just in case anyone else might benefit from it, with a menstrual cycle. Sorry. And that is, I noticed my last menstrual phase that I had more caffeine than usual, like a energy drink kind of dosage.
Yeah.
And I had extreme pains. And I think it was because of that, because I had some of it, put it away. I had quite a lot of pain. Then I had a little bit more and it increased. And I kind of went, was it the caffeine? So I don't know if it's just me, but that might be a reason why some people have really bad pains. I don't know why though.
Yeah, potentially. I off the top of my head, I've not heard of that one, and I wouldn't be able to comment on that. That is interesting. I'll do some digging into it. I don't know,
Please do.
yeah, unless it's maybe more like because there's a lot of acid, isn't there, in coffee, potentially something that upset you. Or but what was it, like an actual period cramp type pain you had?
Yes. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking it might have something to do with the caffeine, and the blood vessels, and
Yeah.
or the I know it affects the blood somehow. I
Yeah.
can't remember specifically right now, but
Yeah, maybe, and
I
potentially
don't
a
know.
little bit of dehydration as well as a result. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I'll look into. Well,
Because
thank you so much.
overall, exercising has made everything a lot better for me. But
Yeah,
that specific time was worse, and I connected it to that.
yeah,
But
potentially. Yeah, if that was like kind of the variable that was different, then yeah, potentially, yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for listening into that one. And please let me know if there's any other specific topics you want me to cover in next week's Zoom call. Just post it in the chat or give me a message as well. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, guys. I really appreciate it. And
thank
have a
Cool.
you.
lovely evening.
Cheers. Thank you.
You
Bye,
too.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.